Hello everyone. Well, I'm sure that most of you, like me, are in full-blown canning or preserving mode because this is the window that we have to get this done. So I recently acquired 5 pounds of huckleberries, which is, I would say, the big brother of the blueberry. It has so much flavor, and I am thrilled to have this 5 pounds. I couldn't deal with it right away when it came, so I just stuck them in the freezer, but I got them out earlier today, and today we're going to can up these 5 precious pounds of hand-picked huckleberries, and we'll do that right after this. Now, the people I got these huckleberries from are really quite good about cleaning them, making sure that there are not stems and leaves in the huckleberries. I mean, the odd one's going to get through. That would happen to anyone. But I'm thrilled with the work that they do, and that they keep me on their list from one year to the next so that I can have a few pounds that I can do various things with. I had some huckleberry jam left over from last year, so I knew I didn't need to do any more of that. So this year I thought I would just can the berries, and that way I can use them for almost anything when I need them. I could thicken up the juice that'll be on the huckleberries and use them in tarts or in a huckleberry pie. I could just dump off the liquid and put the berries into muffins, or I could use the berries in the juice to pour over ice cream. There's just a lot of things that I can do with this. Now, I noticed when I started here that some of these berries in the center are still frozen. So what I'm going to do with them is I'm going to put them in a big pot and I'm going to heat them through. Now, normally I just cold pack berries. I put them in the jars and then I pour hot syrup over them, and then from there to the canner. But because probably more than half of these berries are still frozen, I am going to put them onto the stove, and I am going to bring them up to better than room temperature. I'm going to heat them through so that I'm sure that during the canning process that each of these berries will get hot all the way through. Now, you can do this with most any berry. This works great for strawberries or boysenberries or, yeah, Saskatoons, any berry pretty much. You can do this, and it's quite simple to do. That's why I'm going to show it to you today. And there's a little bit of huckleberry juice in the bottom of the bowl. That's just from the defrosting. But I don't think it's quite enough juice. Like, I don't want to cover the berries with water, which is what I'm going to use in here. But if you had huckleberry juice, you could definitely add it at this point. I'm just going to grab some water and dump. Now, I know that you can't see in the pot, but if you could see in the pot, you would see that the water level is still below the level of the berries, but just barely. Now, I've tasted some of these berries, and they're pretty tart. So I'm just going to add probably around ½ a cup of sugar to sweeten them up just a little bit, but I don't want them to be super sweet because I don't know in the end what I'll be using them for. Now, you can definitely do it without adding any kind of sugar to it. Just can up the berries. Again, if you don't know what the end product is going to be, you may not want to take that chance. I added water. You can add water at any part of this process. It doesn't need to be now. Later, if I discover that my jars aren't quite full enough, then I could add water to the jars as well. because that's really all that's needed. Now, I've given this a bit of a stir, and I'm just going to put it onto the stove to gently heat these berries. Because they've been frozen, they're already feeling a little tender. So now I'm going to put them on the stove, and I'm going to bring them up to room temperature, and then I'll be back and we'll put them in the jars. It's pretty simple so far, right? I have heated these berries all the way through. Now, they're very like blueberries in that if you've frozen them and you go to heat them to do a hot pack, then the berries plump up a little bit. And that's what these guys have done. I just need to take my clean, well-washed jars, and I'm going to just start filling these jars. I don't have any idea, because I didn't measure them, I don't have any idea how many I might get out of there, pounds, but I guess I'll know after today. And I definitely need to leave some headspace in the jar. And afterwards I'll definitely go around and check to make sure that there is enough juice in there. Now, we are fortunate to have huckleberries in our area, but I know that there are lots of places that don't have huckleberries. You may be fortunate enough to be able to, like I have, been raised in a community where we have people who pick huckleberries and sell them to local residents. I'm very cautious. I've been using the same pickers for a few years now because I know how important it is to have the berries picked by hand and not with commercial machines or rakes, because that destroys the bushes. And it's also important to make sure that we're not, cleaning the bush out, taking all the huckleberries in the bush, because it's one of the things that the bears rely on to eat while they are getting ready for winter. And so if you live in the area and you want the berries to continue, then you pick them in a conservative manner. And I am pleased to say that the people that I get my berries from are very ethical, and they hand pick the berries, which makes them dearly expensive, but I am grateful for their efforts, and I'm happy to support local people harvesting sustainably. Now, I got out 12 jars. I'm starting to think that maybe, I think it's going to be fine. Maybe 12 jars will do it. I have 4 more left. I just changed back to my slotted spoon because I do have a lot of juice in the bottom of this. Now, I'm definitely not going to use all this juice that's in the bottom, but I can tell you what, we will certainly drink it up. Or maybe I could make some Jello, some huckleberry Jello. I bet you that would be delicious too. This would also be really awesome, thickened up a little bit with cornstarch after you open the jar, to put on a cheesecake. Oh, there's another idea. I have everything I need to make cheesecake. Maybe that's what I should be doing. Now I'm just going to continue. These huckleberries are so good for us too. They're full of vitamin A and B and C, all the letters pretty much. And they're also, probably because of their dark color, they're also really high in antioxidants, which we all know is super good for us. So if you have the chance to get your hands on some huckleberries, definitely do that. They're incredibly good for us. Let me give her a tap. I'm not sure if that one's good or not. So here I am on jar 11. I don't know if there is enough to do jar 11, but if there isn't, we'll make something incredible out of it anyway. I mean, really, anything that a huckleberry goes on is going to be good. I wish I could describe them to people who have never had a huckleberry, but they're like a very powerful version of a blueberry. I want to say like blueberries on steroids. But you know, some people don't care for huckleberries because they do have a strong flavor that's really blueberry-ish. But okay, not going to get that 11th jar full, but I probably have maybe 3 cups of juice left in there. I'm just going to go around and I'm going to set this one aside because it's going to turn into something else. And I'm just going to go around now and I'm going to just top up these jars to the bottom of the ring right here, that one right there, so that I have a 1-inch headspace. I have today, like every day now, I will be using 4 jar seals, and I can't recommend them highly enough. They are all I use anymore. I love them. They have not let me down at all, and every time I open a jar that is held on with the old seals I used to use, I am reminded how much thicker these are and how much I love them. And you can buy them in packages of 100 or 50. And if you use the code that I'll put in my description box below, you can get 10% off your order. Not just your first order, but every order that you get using that particular password. Well, it's not a password, a code. Input the code and you'll get 10% off your order. The shipping's super fast. So if you're getting low on seals, this is the place to go. 4 jars. Now I've just reached for a clean bit of kitchen towel and I'm going to go around the edges of all these jars and make sure that I have not got anything that's going to impede the seal. And you have to be really diligent about this with huckleberries, like you do with blueberries, because if you've ever had a blueberry seed or a huckleberry seed stuck in your teeth, you'll know what that's all about, and it won't form a good seal if it's like that. If you get one of those little seeds in the way, you'll have a jar that doesn't seal. Now, into the last one here. I'll reach for my 4 jars seals. Now I actually heat these seals. I don't boil them because that isn't recommended, but they do recommend that you wash them with soap and water before you use them. And then I keep them warm in a little pot. Like I said, they're not boiling, but they're warm. I'm just going to, I hope that you're with me so far. I think this is a pretty straightforward process, and I hope that it'll help you to understand that canning berries, today we're doing huckleberries, but the process is the same for all berries as far as I know. And I have got my canner on the stove heated up, and I can get 8 of these in there at one time, so I'm going to have to do 2 lots of them, I guess, because I have 10 jars, and I guess I can figure out how to get the others in there. We're not reefing down on the lids, but, or this part, we're not reefing down on the ring, but I am not afraid to put a little more pressure on it when it's a 4 jar seal, because they're a good seal and they can stand up to a little bit more pressure. So Now I'm just going to transfer these into my canning kettle on the stove, and I'm going to put them in, turn it back on, bring it to a full rolling boil, and once it starts to boil, I'm going to time these for 15 minutes. And then I bring them out and cool them, and that's all there is to that. So pretty simple process. I will bring you back when I'm bringing them out of the canning kettle, and you can have a look at the jar. I am so happy to have them. I'm so happy to have been able to show you how simple it is to can berries, and I hope that you see some berry canning in your near future. Remember that blueberries can be done exactly the same way. Now the only thing that I would say about canning berries like this, blueberries and huckleberry, well, any of the berries, if you're canning them, the fluid around the berry is going to change color. In this case, the berries are a deep purple, so the color of the juice is deep purple. When you go to use them in muffins, it doesn't matter how gently you fold them in there, the muffin is going to turn purple. If you were using whole blueberries or whole huckleberries, you'd have a lot less risk of that happening. If purple doesn't bother you, then by all means give this a try. It's just such a simple process that I think anybody could do it. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed today's journey with me to can up some precious huckleberries, and that if you have, you would consider liking the video, sharing it with your friends, sharing it on social media, and subscribing to the channel. As always, the recipe or the method for doing this will be in the description box below, along with the code that you need to get 10% off the 4 jars canning seals. And that'll be all for today, folks. I hope to see you back here again soon. And until then, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.